Have you ever felt invisible to someone who claims to care about you? Have you found yourself questioning why a man who loves you might suddenly act distant, cold, or even ignore you completely? If these questions resonate with your heart, then take a deep breath. You're not alone. This feeling of being overlooked cuts deep, doesn't it? It's like standing in front of someone, pouring your soul into their presence, only to realize they've turned away. But here's the truth. This moment of pain can become a turning point for growth, clarity, and empowerment. And by the end of this video, you'll uncover insights that will help you understand not just him, but also yourself on a deeper level. Stick around until the very end because there's a powerful reward waiting for you, something that will change how you view relationships forever. Let's start by acknowledging what you're feeling right now. That ache in your chest, the heaviness in your mind, it's real. When someone we care about ignores us, it feels personal. It triggers doubts. Am I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Does he really love me? These thoughts swirl endlessly, creating chaos where there should be peace. But let me tell you something profound. None of this is about your worth. Your value as a person isn't tied to anyone else's actions or reactions. What you're experiencing has less to do with you and more to do with the complexities of human behavior. Understanding this distinction is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Human beings are intricate creatures. We carry layers of emotions, fears, and insecurities shaped by years of experiences, some beautiful, others painful. Sometimes, when someone ignores us, it's not because they don't care, it's because they're struggling within themselves. Picture this. A man who loves you deeply might pull away not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear of inadequacy, fear of vulnerability, fear of messing things up. He may believe that ignoring you is easier than confronting his own emotions. Does that excuse his behavior? No. But understanding this perspective allows you to approach the situation with empathy instead of anger. Empathy doesn't mean excusing hurtful actions. It means seeing the bigger picture so you can respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Now think about how often we misinterpret silence. Silence can feel deafening, especially when you're longing for connection. Yet silence itself is neutral. It's the meaning we assign to it that causes suffering. Maybe he's overwhelmed. Maybe he's unsure how to communicate his feelings. Or maybe he's simply trying to protect himself from getting hurt again. Whatever the reason, remember this. His inability to express himself fully doesn't diminish your light. You shine brightly regardless of whether he acknowledges it or not. The key is learning to separate his emotional capacity from your self-worth. Because at the end of the day, your worth isn't negotiable, it's inherent. Here's another layer to consider. Sometimes people push others away because they're afraid of losing them. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But psychology shows us that fear of abandonment can manifest in strange ways. A man who truly loves you might distance himself because he believes he's unworthy of your love, or worse, that you'll eventually leave him anyway. In his mind, creating space might feel like a way to shield himself from future pain. While this logic may seem flawed, it's rooted in insecurity and past wounds. Recognizing this pattern can shift your perspective. Instead of taking his distance personally, you begin to see it as a reflection of his inner world, a world that deserves compassion, though not necessarily tolerance if it harms you. As we move forward, keep one thing in mind. Healing starts with awareness. Awareness of your emotions, awareness of his potential struggles, and most importantly, awareness of your strength. You have the power to rise above this moment of uncertainty. You have the ability to transform confusion into clarity and pain into purpose. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So as we delve deeper into the reasons behind his actions, and more importantly, how to navigate them, I want you to focus on what truly matters, becoming unstoppable in your journey toward happiness. Before we continue, let me remind you of the promise I made earlier. By watching this video till the end, you'll gain access to a life-changing insight. A reward that will empower you to rewrite the narrative of your relationship. This isn't just another motivational speech. It's a roadmap to rediscovering your confidence, setting healthy boundaries, and attracting the love you deserve. Stay with me, and together we'll turn this moment of doubt into a foundation of strength. Human behavior is a puzzle, isn't it? Just when we think we understand someone, they do something that leaves us questioning everything. But here's the thing about puzzles. They're only confusing until you start connecting the pieces. And one of the biggest pieces in this situation is understanding that everyone carries their own invisible baggage. The man who loves you might be shouldering fears, doubts, or insecurities that have nothing to do with you, but everything to do with how he shows up in your life. Think about it. Every person you meet has walked a unique path shaped by triumphs and traumas. Some carry the weight of past relationships gone wrong. Others wrestle with internal battles they've never learned to articulate. For instance, a man who grew up in an environment where expressing emotions was discouraged might struggle to communicate openly as an adult. His silence isn't a rejection of you. It's a reflection of his inability to process what he feels. This doesn't excuse neglectful behavior, but it does offer perspective. Perspective softens anger and replaces it with understanding, which is crucial if you want to move forward with clarity. Now, let's talk about societal expectations, because they play a massive role in shaping how men express or suppress their emotions. From a young age, many men are taught to equate vulnerability with weakness. They're conditioned to man up, to bury their feelings under layers of stoicism. So when a man loves deeply but struggles to show it, it's often because he's trapped between his heart and these outdated ideals. He may fear that showing affection too openly makes him appear less strong or capable. What happens then? He retreats into himself, creating distance even though his heart yearns for closeness. Understanding this dynamic doesn't mean tolerating emotional unavailability. It means recognizing that his actions are influenced by forces beyond your control. But here's the empowering part. While you can't change someone else's conditioning, you can decide how much energy you invest in trying to fix them. True growth begins when you stop waiting for someone else to step up and start focusing on your own journey. Remember, love is meant to uplift, not drain. It's supposed to inspire confidence, not doubt. If you find yourself constantly bending over backward to make sense of his behavior, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this relationship nurturing my spirit or is it dimming my light? The answer will guide you toward what truly matters: your peace, your joy, and your worth. Let's also acknowledge the courage it takes to face uncertainty head on. It's easier to cling to explanations, to search for reasons why he acts the way he does, but real strength lies in accepting that some answers may never come. And that's okay. You don't need all the answers to take the next right step for yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is release the need to control the narrative and instead focus on building a life so fulfilling that external validation becomes irrelevant. Imagine waking up each day knowing your happiness isn't dependent on anyone else's choices. That kind of freedom is priceless, and it starts with choosing yourself first. Every challenge you encounter holds a lesson, and this situation is no different. Whether or not he chooses to open up, whether or not things work out between you, the experience is teaching you something invaluable about your resilience and self-worth. Hold on to that truth tightly, because at the core of every great transformation is the decision to see difficulty not as a roadblock, but as a stepping stone. And trust me, the insights you're gaining now will prepare you for deeper, healthier connections in the future. So take a moment to honor where you are right now. Honor the pain, the confusion, and yes, even the hope. All of it is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more radiant than ever before. Keep moving forward, one small step at a time. The best version of you is waiting just ahead, and she's worth every effort. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it speaks in whispers, so soft you might miss them if you're not paying attention. And that's where the confusion begins, because we've been conditioned to equate love with grand gestures, constant affirmation, or unwavering presence. But what happens when love doesn't look the way we expect it to? What happens when the person who cares for you deeply struggles to show it in ways you can see or feel? This is where patience becomes your greatest ally and understanding transforms into your superpower. Let's talk about silence for a moment. Not the kind that isolates, but the kind that protects. Some men retreat into quiet spaces because they don't know how to navigate their emotions without feeling exposed. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing one wrong step could send you plummeting into uncertainty. That's what vulnerability feels like for many people. For a man who loves you, pulling back might be his way of shielding both of you from potential hurt. He may believe that saying nothing is safer than saying the wrong thing, even though this approach often creates more distance than connection. While this behavior can feel frustrating, it's rooted in a desire to preserve the relationship, not destroy it. Now, here's the empowering part. Silence doesn't mean absence. Just because someone isn't expressing love outwardly doesn't mean it isn't there. Love exists in actions, intentions, and energy, even when words fail. Think about the times he's shown up for you in small, meaningful ways. The thoughtful gesture, the quiet support, the unspoken loyalty. These moments matter, and they reveal a truth deeper than words ever could. Love doesn't vanish simply because it goes unspoken. What matters most is learning to recognize these subtleties and trusting your intuition to guide you through the gray areas. But let's be clear, patience doesn't mean settling for less than you deserve. There's a fine line between giving someone space to grow and allowing yourself to be neglected. Healthy relationships thrive on balance, and that balance requires effort from both sides. If his silence feels like indifference, if his distance leaves you questioning your worth, then it's time to ask yourself, is this truly love, or is it avoidance disguised as affection? Real love doesn't leave you doubting your value. It amplifies it. It makes you feel seen, cherished, and secure even during the hardest moments. The beauty of this journey lies in its ability to teach you about yourself. Every interaction, every challenge, and every unanswered question pushes you closer to discovering what you truly need in a partnership. Maybe you realize you crave more communication. Perhaps you understand now that you deserve someone who meets you halfway instead of retreating into themselves. Whatever lessons emerge, embrace them fully, because they're preparing you for something greater. Something aligned with the love you're capable of giving and receiving. And here's the secret no one tells you. Growth often comes wrapped in discomfort. The moments that test your patience, stretch your empathy, or force you to confront your own needs are the ones that shape you into the best version of yourself. So instead of resisting the process, lean into it. Use this experience as fuel to build resilience, deepen self-awareness, and strengthen your emotional independence. When you learn to stand confidently in your own light, you attract relationships that reflect that same brilliance. Remember, love isn't just about finding someone who completes you. It's about becoming whole within yourself first. The more you invest in your own growth, the clearer your boundaries become. You'll start recognizing which behaviors align with your values and which ones compromise your peace. This clarity won't just transform how you approach relationships, it will elevate every area of your life. Because when you prioritize your well-being, you create a foundation strong enough to withstand any storm. So take a deep breath and remind yourself of this. You are worthy of a love that feels safe, steady, and authentic. Not perfect, because perfection doesn't exist, but real. A love that honors your strength, respects your boundaries, and celebrates your uniqueness. Keep moving forward with grace and determination. The path may feel uncertain right now, but each step you take brings you closer to the connection you truly deserve. Fear is a silent architect, shaping our lives in ways we often don't realize. It builds walls where there should be bridges, and creates distance when connection is what we crave most. When a man who loves you pulls away, fear might be the invisible force driving his action. But here's the truth. Fear isn't selective. It doesn't just affect him, it affects everyone, including you. The difference lies in how we choose to respond to it. And right now, you have the power to rise above it, both for yourself and for the sake of understanding what's really happening. Think about fear for a moment, not as an enemy, but as a signal. It's a primal instinct designed to protect us from pain, rejection, or failure. For some, this fear becomes paralyzing. A man might ignore you not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much. He may worry that opening up will make him vulnerable, exposing parts of himself he's spent years trying to hide. Or perhaps he fears that if he lets you in completely, he'll lose control over his emotions. Or worse, lose you altogether. Fear convinces us that running away is safer than staying and facing the unknown. But here's the catch. Running only postpones the inevitable. It doesn't solve anything. It just delays the healing that needs to happen. Now, let's shift the focus back to you, because your response matters just as much as his fears. When someone ignores you out of fear, it's easy to internalize their actions and question your own worth. But I want you to hear this clearly. His fear is not a reflection of your value. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of someone else's insecurities. What you are responsible for is deciding how much space you allow those insecurities to occupy in your life. Will you let fear dictate your happiness, or will you choose courage instead? Courage doesn't mean charging forward without hesitation. It means moving forward despite the uncertainty. It means recognizing that while you can't control his fears, you can control how you react to them. Maybe this means having an honest conversation about how his behavior makes you feel. Maybe it means setting boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. Or maybe it simply means giving yourself permission to step back and evaluate whether this relationship aligns with the life you're building for yourself. Whatever path you choose, let it be guided by strength, not desperation. Here's another powerful perspective. Fear thrives in darkness, but it dissolves in light. By choosing to confront your own fears, whether it's the fear of being alone, the fear of not being enough, or the fear of losing him, you take away its power. Every time you acknowledge your feelings without letting them consume you, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every time you act from a place of self-assurance rather than insecurity, you prove to the universe and to yourself that you are unstoppable. This isn't just about navigating this specific situation. It's about cultivating a mindset that empowers you to handle any challenge life throws your way. Let's also talk about forgiveness. Not necessarily forgiving him, but forgiving yourself for any doubt or self-blame that may have crept in during this process. Forgiveness is freedom. It releases you from the chains of resentment and allows you to move forward with clarity and purpose. Understand that loving someone doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it does mean seeing them and yourself with compassion. Compassion doesn't weaken you, it strengthens you. It reminds you that everyone is fighting battles you can't see, and that includes you. As you continue on this journey, remember this. Fear may influence actions, but it doesn't define outcomes. The choices you make today will shape the story you tell tomorrow. Will it be a story of growth, resilience, and self-discovery? Or will it be one of hesitation, doubt, and missed opportunities? The answer lies within you. Trust that you have everything you need to write a chapter filled with hope, strength, and unwavering belief in your worth. So take a moment to honor your courage. Honor the fact that you're still standing, still striving, and still seeking answers, even when the road feels uncertain. That determination is your superpower. Keep using it, keep believing in it, and watch as the world begins to reflect the beauty and strength you carry inside. Validation is a tricky thing, isn't it? We all crave it in some form, whether it's a kind word, a reassuring glance, or simply the feeling of being seen and appreciated. But here's the hard truth. When you rely on someone else to validate your worth, you're handing over the keys to your happiness. And if that person falters, if they pull away, ignore you, or fail to meet your needs, you're left feeling empty. The antidote to this cycle? Building a foundation of self-worth so unshakable that external validation becomes optional, not essential. Think about what happens when you tie your value to another person's actions. Every time he ignores you, every time he retreats into silence, you start questioning yourself. Am I enough? Do I deserve better? These questions aren't inherently wrong. They show your desire for growth, but they shouldn't come at the cost of your peace. Your worth isn't determined by how much attention someone gives you. It's inherent. You were born worthy, and no amount of neglect or distance can take that away from you. The challenge lies in remembering this truth, especially when emotions run high. Now imagine standing in front of a mirror, not literally, but metaphorically, and declaring, "I am enough." How does that feel? Awkward? Liberating? Maybe both? That discomfort is normal because self-worth isn't something we're taught to prioritize. Society often tells us to seek approval, to mold ourselves into what others expect. But real confidence comes from within. It's the quiet knowing that you don't need anyone else's stamp of approval to shine. When you cultivate this mindset, you stop waiting for someone else to affirm your brilliance. You already know it's there. Building self-worth starts with small, intentional acts of self-love. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small they seem. Did you get out of bed today despite feeling overwhelmed? That's a victory. Did you speak your truth even though your voice trembled? That's courage. Each step you take toward honoring yourself reinforces the belief that you are valuable, independent of anyone else's opinion. Over time, these moments add up, creating a reservoir of strength that no external force can drain. But let's address something important. Focusing on self-worth doesn't mean shutting people out. It means inviting healthier dynamics into your life. When you know your value, you begin to attract relationships that reflect it. People who truly care for you won't make you beg for their attention or doubt your importance. They'll meet you with respect, effort, and reciprocity. And if someone consistently fails to do so, you'll have the clarity and confidence to walk away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Here's the transformative part. As you grow more secure in yourself, you also inspire those around you to grow. A man who loves you might initially struggle with his own insecurities, but seeing your strength and self-assurance could motivate him to confront his fears. Of course, this isn't your responsibility, it's his journey. But leading by example has a ripple effect. By embodying the qualities you want to see in others, you create space for positive change to occur naturally. Let's pause for a moment and talk about resilience. Building self-worth isn't a linear process. It's messy, imperfect, and sometimes painful. There will be days when old doubts creep back in, whispering lies about your value. On those days, remind yourself why you started this journey. Remember the times you stood tall despite the odds, the moments you chose yourself even when it felt uncomfortable. Those memories are proof that you're capable of greatness, and they'll carry you through the tough time. Embrace the beauty of becoming unstoppable. When you root your worth in yourself, you unlock a level of freedom most people never experience. You stop seeking permission to live fully, love deeply, and dream boldly. You realize that your happiness isn't contingent on someone else's ability to show up. It's yours to claim, protect, and nurture. This shift doesn't just transform your relationships, it transforms your entire life. Suddenly, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. So take a deep breath and let this sink in. You are the author of your story, and every word you write matters. Fill your pages with courage, authenticity, and unwavering belief in your worth. Trust that the more you invest in yourself, the brighter your light becomes, and nothing can dim that. Keep going, keep growing, and watch as the world begins to align with the incredible person you're becoming. Communication is the bridge that connects hearts, yet so often it becomes the gap that separates them. When a man who loves you ignores you, it's easy to assume the worst, that he doesn't care, that he's indifferent, or that something is fundamentally broken between you. But before jumping to conclusions, let's pause and consider this. Maybe the issue isn't a lack of love, it's a breakdown in communication. And here's the empowering part. While you can't control how someone else communicates, you can take steps to foster clarity, understanding, and connection. Think about the last time you tried to express yourself but felt misunderstood. How did it make you feel? Frustrated? Invisible? Perhaps even defeated? Now imagine being on the other side of that equation, trying to articulate emotions you don't fully understand yourself. For many people, especially those who struggle with vulnerability, communicating feelings can feel like navigating a maze without a map. They might avoid conversations altogether because they fear saying the wrong thing or opening a door to conflict they're not equipped to handle. Silence becomes their default, not because they don't want to connect, but because they don't know how. This is where empathy meets action. Instead of waiting for him to figure it out on his own, consider taking the lead and creating space for honest dialogue. Start by asking yourself, am I approaching this from a place of curiosity, not accusation? Framing your words with kindness and openness invites collaboration rather than defensiveness. For example, instead of saying, Why are you ignoring me? Try, I've noticed we've been distant lately and I'd love to understand what's going on. Notice the difference? One accuses, the other invites. The way you communicate sets the tone for the entire conversation, and sometimes all it takes is one brave step to break the cycle of silence. But here's the deeper truth. Effective communication isn't just about speaking. It's about listening. Really listening. Not just to the words being said, but to the emotions behind them. When someone shares their thoughts, do you respond with judgment or with understanding? Do you interrupt to defend yourself, or do you give them room to be heard? Listening is an act of love, and when done well, it has the power to heal wounds that words alone cannot touch. If he opens up, even hesitantly, meet him with patience and compassion. Show him that it's safe to share his truth with you, and watch as walls begin to crumble. Of course, there's a delicate balance here. While fostering open communication is important, it's equally vital to recognize when efforts aren't reciprocated. Healthy relationships require mutual effort. If you find yourself doing all the heavy lifting, if he consistently avoids conversations or refuses to engage, it's time to ask yourself, is this relationship serving my growth, or is it holding me back? Real love doesn't demand sacrifices at the expense of your peace. It thrives on partnership, not imbalance. Let's also talk about the courage it takes to confront misunderstandings head on. Miscommunication breeds assumptions, and assumptions breed resentment. Left unchecked, these patterns erode trust and create distance. Breaking this cycle requires bravery, the willingness to face uncomfortable truths and have difficult conversations. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it might stir up emotions you'd rather avoid, but every challenge you navigate together strengthens the foundation of your relationship. And if the foundation isn't strong enough to withstand these moments, then perhaps it's time to reconsider whether it's built to last. Here's the silver lining. Mastering communication isn't just about improving your relationship with him, it's about improving your relationship with the world. The skills you develop, active listening, thoughtful expression, emotional intelligence, will serve you in every area of life. Whether it's resolving conflicts at work, deepening friendships, or advocating for yourself, the ability to communicate effectively is a superpower. And like any skill, it grows stronger with practice. As you move forward, remember this. Communication isn't about perfection. It's about progress. There will be missteps along the way, moments when frustration gets the better of you or when silence feels easier than confrontation. That's okay. What matters is your commitment to showing up again and again with authenticity and intention. Each attempt brings you closer to clarity, closer to connection, and closer to the kind of relationship that reflects the best versions of both of you. So take a moment to honor the courage it takes to communicate. Openly, honor the fact that you're willing to do the work, even when it feels hard, because every word you speak with purpose, every ear you lend with compassion, is a step toward building something meaningful, not just for today, but for the future you deserve. We all carry scars, some visible, others hidden beneath layers of smiles and silence. These scars are remnants of past experiences, moments that shaped who we are today. And when a man who loves you pulls away, it's possible those old wounds are resurfacing, dictating his actions in ways even he may not fully understand. But here's the truth. While you can't erase another person's pain, you can choose how much it influences your own journey. Understanding this distinction is key to finding clarity and reclaiming your peace. Think about the weight of unresolved hurt. Maybe he's carrying the sting of a failed relationship, the ache of betrayal, or the lingering shadow of rejection. These memories don't just disappear, they linger, shaping how someone approaches love and connection. For some, the fear of reliving past pain becomes so overwhelming that they build walls to protect themselves. Ignoring you might be his way of shielding both of you from potential heartbreak. It's not about you. It's about the battles he's still fighting within himself. Recognizing this doesn't excuse his behavior, but it does offer perspective. Perspective softens judgment and opens the door to compassion. Now let's shift the focus back to you, because your response matters just as much as his struggles. When someone's past spills into your present, it's easy to take their actions personally, but I want you to hear this clearly. His unresolved pain is not a reflection of your worth. You didn't cause it, and you're not responsible for fixing it. What you are responsible for is deciding how much space you allow it to occupy in your life. Will you let someone else's history dictate your happiness, or will you rise above it with grace and strength? Here's where self-awareness becomes your greatest ally. Ask yourself, am I enabling patterns that don't serve me by staying silent? Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for him is to gently confront these shadows. A simple question like, is there something weighing on your mind, can create an opening for healing. Of course, whether he chooses to step into that light is entirely up to him. Your role isn't to fix him, it's to hold space for honesty while protecting your own well-being. Let's also talk about forgiveness. Not necessarily forgiving him, but forgiving yourself for any guilt or blame you've shouldered along the way. Forgiveness is freedom. It releases you from the burden of trying to control outcomes you were never meant to carry. Understand that everyone heals at their own pace, including you. If his past continues to cast a shadow over your relationship, ask yourself. The answer will guide you toward what truly matters, your growth, your joy, and your peace. Empathy doesn't mean tolerating toxicity. There's a difference between understanding someone's struggles and excusing harmful behavior. Real love doesn't demand sacrifice at the expense of your dignity. It thrives on mutual respect, effort, and accountability. If his unresolved pain manifests as neglect, indifference, or emotional withdrawal, it's time to set boundaries. Boundaries aren't barriers. They're acts of self-respect. They remind you that your needs matter, your voice matters, and your happiness matters. As you navigate this, remember that healing is a process, not a destination. Some wounds run deep, and not everyone is ready to face them. That's okay. What's important is knowing when to walk alongside someone and when to step away for your own sake. Trust that every experience teaches you something valuable about yourself. Whether it's recognizing red flags earlier, learning to communicate more effectively, or simply understanding your limits, these lessons prepare you for healthier connections ahead. Finally, embrace the beauty of resilience. Every challenge you face has the potential to make you stronger, wiser, and more radiant than before. Instead of seeing his unresolved pain as an obstacle, view it as an opportunity to deepen your self-awareness and reinforce your boundaries. Each step you take toward protecting your peace brings you closer to the kind of love that honors your light instead of dimming it. So take a moment to honor your courage. Honor the fact that you're navigating complexities with grace and determination. That strength is your superpower. Keep moving forward with faith in your ability to create a life filled with authenticity, joy, and meaningful connections. Because the more you invest in your own healing, the brighter your path becomes, and nothing can dim that. Overthinking is like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. When a man who loves you ignores you, it's natural to replay every interaction in your mind, searching for answers that might not even exist. But here's the truth. Overthinking doesn't solve problems. It creates them. It amplifies doubts, magnifies fears, and turns small moments into overwhelming narratives. And while it may feel productive to analyze every detail, the reality is that assumptions rarely align with the truth. The antidote? Clarity, calmness, and trust in your ability to handle whatever comes next. Think about the last time you found yourself spiraling, replaying conversations, dissecting his silence, or imagining worst-case scenarios. How did it make you feel? Exhausted? Anxious? Maybe even paralyzed by uncertainty? Overthinking hijacks your peace because it shifts your focus from what is to what might be. It tricks you into believing that obsessing over unanswered questions will somehow bring resolution. But here's the hard truth. Clarity doesn't come from rumination. It comes from action. Whether it's having an honest conversation, setting boundaries, or simply stepping back to gain perspective, real solutions require movement, not mental loops. Now let's talk about assumptions, the silent saboteurs of relationships. When someone ignores you, it's easy to fill the void with stories they haven't told. He doesn't care anymore. I must have done something wrong. This is how it ends. These thoughts feel heavy because they're rooted in fear, not facts. Assumptions strip away nuance and replace it with black and white thinking, leaving no room for understanding or compassion. The antidote lies in questioning those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this true, or am I projecting my fears onto him? Challenging your assumptions creates space for curiosity instead of judgment, and curiosity opens doors that fear slams shut. Here's where self-awareness becomes your anchor. Pay attention to the triggers that pull you into overthinking. Is it his lack of communication, a missed call or text, or perhaps the absence of affection you've come to expect? Identifying these triggers empowers you to respond differently. Instead of jumping to conclusions, pause and breathe. Remind yourself that emotions are temporary, they rise, they fall, and they pass. In those quiet moments, you'll find clarity waiting for you on the other side. Let's also address the role patience plays in breaking the cycle of overthinking. Patience isn't passive, it's active. It's choosing to sit with discomfort instead of rushing to resolve it. It's trusting that answers will come in their own time, even when the wait feels unbearable. This doesn't mean ignoring red flags or tolerating neglect. It means giving yourself permission to process without forcing outcomes. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply observe. Watch how situations unfold before making decisions based on incomplete information. But here's the empowering part. Overthinking only has power if you give it fuel. Every time you catch yourself spiraling, redirect your energy towards something constructive. Write down your thoughts to release them from your mind. Practice mindfulness to ground yourself in the present moment. Breen, I appreciate your free will. Engage in activities that remind you of your strength and worth. Each small act of redirection weakens the grip of overthinking, replacing chaos with calm. And here's the silver lining. Every challenge you face teaches you something valuable about yourself. Overthinking reveals your deepest insecurities, but it also highlights your capacity for growth. By learning to manage your thoughts, you reclaim control over your emotional well-being. You prove to yourself that you don't need all the answers right now to move forward. You already possess everything you need to navigate uncertainty with grace and confidence. Finally, embrace the beauty of surrender. Not giving up, but letting go of what you can't control. Trust that some things will always remain beyond your grasp, and that's okay. What matters is how you respond to the unknown. Do you let fear dictate your actions, or do you choose faith in your ability to adapt and thrive? The answer defines not just this moment, but the trajectory of your life. So take a deep breath and let this sink in. You are stronger than your thoughts. You are wiser than your doubts. And you are capable of rising above the noise to find peace within yourself. Keep moving forward with courage, knowing that clarity emerges not from overthinking, but from trusting the journey, even when the path feels uncertain. Overthinking is like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. When a man who loves you ignores you, it's natural to replay every interaction in your mind, searching for answers that might not even exist. But here's the truth. Overthinking doesn't solve problems, it creates them. It amplifies doubts, magnifies fears, and turns small moments into overwhelming narratives. And while it may feel productive to analyze every detail, the reality is that assumptions rarely align with the truth. The antidote? Clarity, calmness, and trust in your ability to handle whatever comes next. Think about the last time you found yourself spiraling, replaying conversations, dissecting his silence, or imagining worst-case scenarios. How did it make you feel? Exhausted? Anxious? Maybe even paralyzed by uncertainty? Overthinking hijacks your peace because it shifts your focus from what is to what might be. It tricks you into believing that obsessing over unanswered questions will somehow bring resolution. But here's the hard truth. Clarity doesn't come from rumination. It comes from action. Whether it's having an honest conversation, setting boundaries, or simply stepping back to gain perspective, real solutions require movement, not mental loops. Now let's talk about assumptions, the silent saboteurs of relationships. When someone ignores you, it's easy to fill the void with stories they haven't told. He doesn't care anymore. I must have done something wrong. This is how it ends. These thoughts feel heavy because they're rooted in fear, not facts. Assumptions strip away nuance and replace it with black and white thinking, leaving no room for understanding or compassion. The antidote lies in questioning those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this true, or am I projecting my fears onto him? Challenging your assumptions creates space for curiosity instead of judgment, and curiosity opens doors that fear slams shut. Here's where self-awareness becomes your anchor. Pay attention to the triggers that pull you into overthinking. Is it his lack of communication, a missed call or text, or perhaps the absence of affection you've come to expect? Identifying these triggers empowers you to respond differently. Instead of jumping to conclusions, pause and breathe. Remind yourself that emotions are temporary, they rise, they fall, and they pass. In those quiet moments, you'll find clarity waiting for you on the other side. Let's also address the role patience plays in breaking the cycle of overthinking. Patience isn't passive, it's active. It's choosing to sit with discomfort instead of rushing to resolve it. It's trusting that answers will come in their own time, even when the wait feels unbearable. This doesn't mean ignoring red flags or tolerating neglect. It means giving yourself permission to process without forcing outcomes. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply observe. Watch how situations unfold before making decisions based on incomplete information. But here's the empowering part. Overthinking only has power if you give it fuel. Every time you catch yourself spiraling, redirect your energy towards something constructive. Write down your thoughts to release them from your mind. Practice mindfulness to ground yourself in the present moment. Engage in activities that remind you of your strength and worth. Each small act of redirection weakens the grip of overthinking, replacing chaos with calm. And here's the silver lining. Every challenge you face teaches you something valuable about yourself. Overthinking reveals your deepest insecurities, but it also highlights your capacity for growth. By learning to manage your thoughts, you reclaim control over your emotional well-being. You prove to yourself that you don't need all the answers right now to move forward. You already possess everything you need to navigate uncertainty with grace and confidence. Finally, embrace the beauty of surrender. Not giving up, but letting go of what you can't control. Trust that some things will always remain beyond your grasp, and that's okay. What matters is how you respond to the unknown. Do you let fear dictate your actions, or do you choose faith in your ability to adapt and thrive? The answer defines not just this moment, but the trajectory of your life. So take a deep breath and let this sink in. You are stronger than your thoughts. You are wiser than your doubts. And you are capable of rising above the noise to find peace within yourself. Keep moving forward with courage, knowing that clarity emerges, not from overthinking, but from trusting the journey, even when the path feels uncertain. Space is often misunderstood. When a man who loves you creates distance, it's easy to interpret it as rejection or indifference. But here's the truth. Space isn't always a sign of disconnection. It can be a catalyst for growth, reflection, and even deeper connection. The key lies in how you choose to use that space. Will you let it consume you with doubt and fear, or will you embrace it as an opportunity to reconnect with yourself and rediscover your strength? The choice is yours, and it has the power to transform not just this moment, but your entire outlook on love and relationships. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed, when emotions ran high, thoughts spiraled, and clarity seemed impossible to find. What did you crave most in that moment? For many of us, it's peace, a chance to step back, breathe, and recalibrate. Space provides that gift, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. It allows both you and him to process emotions, confront fears, and gain perspective without the pressure of immediate resolution. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words because it gives room for truths to surface organically. And while waiting can feel agonizing, trust that patience often reveals what haste cannot. Now let's talk about solitude, not as loneliness, but as liberation. When someone pulls away, it's tempting to fill the void with questions, doubts, or attempts to bridge the gap. But what if, instead of chasing answers, you turned inward? Solitude is a sacred space where self-discovery thrives. It's where you reconnect with your dreams, desires, and values. The things that make you uniquely you. Use this time to reflect on what truly matters to you in a relationship. Is it communication, trust, mutual effort? Clarity about your needs empowers you to create healthier dynamics moving forward. Here's the empowering part. Space doesn't diminish love. It refines it. Real love doesn't crumble under temporary distance. It grows stronger through understanding and authenticity. If he chooses to return after taking time for himself, chances are he'll come back with greater clarity and intention. And if he doesn't, that's information too, an indication that perhaps this wasn't the kind of love meant to last. Either way, space serves a purpose. It filters out what's superficial and leaves only what's real. But let's address something important. Embracing space doesn't mean abandoning hope or suppressing your feelings. It means honoring your emotions while refusing to let them control you. Write down your thoughts if they feel suffocating. Talk to a trusted friend or mentor if you need support. Channel your energy into activities that remind you of your worth, whether it's pursuing a passion, practicing gratitude, or simply spending time in nature. Each act of self-care reinforces the belief that you are whole, regardless of anyone else's presence. Let's also talk about the courage it takes to release attachment to outcomes. When you give someone space, you're essentially saying, I trust you enough to honor your process, and I trust myself enough to focus on mine. This level of maturity transforms relationships. It shifts the dynamic from dependence to partnership, from insecurity to mutual respect. And even if the relationship changes or ends, you emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true self. Here's the silver lining. Every moment of distance teaches you resilience. It reminds you that you don't need constant validation to feel secure. You learn to stand firmly in your own light, knowing that external circumstances can't dim your brilliance. Over time, this mindset becomes a shield against fear and uncertainty. It equips you to navigate future challenges with grace and confidence, whether in relationships or other areas of life. Finally, embrace the beauty of surrender, not giving up, but releasing the need to control everything. Trust that some lessons unfold in their own time, and that growth often happens in the spaces between action and stillness. By choosing to see space as a gift rather than a punishment, you reclaim your power. You prove to yourself that you're capable of thriving, no matter the circumstances. And that realization is priceless. So take a deep breath and remind yourself of this. Space isn't empty. It's full of potential, full of opportunities to grow, heal, and prepare for whatever comes next. Whether this chapter leads to reconciliation or closure, know that you're exactly where you need to be. Keep moving forward with faith in your journey, trusting that the best versions of both you and your story are yet to come. Confidence is magnetic. It draws people in, commands respect, and creates an aura of authenticity that no one can ignore. When a man who loves you pulls away, it's easy to question yourself, to wonder if you're enough. But here's the truth. Confidence isn't about having all the answers or being perfect. It's about embracing who you are unapologetically and wholeheartedly. And when you radiate confidence, you not only transform how others see you, you transform how you see yourself. Think about the most confident people you know. What makes them stand out? Is it their unwavering belief in their worth, their ability to handle challenges with grace? Or perhaps the way they carry themselves with quiet strength, even in uncertain times? Confidence doesn't scream for attention. It earns it naturally. It's the kind of energy that says, I am secure in who I am, and I don't need external validation to prove it. When you embody this mindset, you become irresistible. Not because you're trying to be, but because your self-assurance inspires trust and admiration. Now, let's talk about how confidence impacts relationships. A man who loves you might retreat into silence or distance, but when you exude confidence, you send a powerful message. I'm here, I'm strong, and I won't compromise my peace for uncertainty. This doesn't mean being confrontational or demanding. It means showing up as your best self regardless of the situation. Confidence invites reciprocity. It encourages him to step up, to match your energy, and to meet you halfway. And if he can't, that's clarity too. An indication that perhaps this relationship wasn't built to thrive. Here's the empowering part. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you cultivate. Start by celebrating your strengths, no matter how small they seem. Did you handle a tough conversation with grace? That's courage. Did you prioritize your well-being despite feeling unsettled? That's resilience. Each act of self-trust reinforces your belief in your abilities, Over time, these moments add up, creating a foundation of confidence that no external force can shake. But let's address something important. Confidence doesn't mean ignoring vulnerability. In fact, true confidence embraces vulnerability as a source of strength. It's about acknowledging your fears, doubts, and insecurities without letting them define you. When you allow yourself to be seen, flaws and all, you create space for deeper connections. Vulnerability paired with confidence is a rare combination that draws people closer because it signals authenticity. You're not hiding behind perfection, you're standing firmly in your humanity. And that's where real beauty lies. Let's also talk about the ripple effect of confidence. When you walk through life with assurance, you inspire those around you to do the same. A man who loves you might initially struggle with his own insecurities, but seeing your strength could motivate him to confront his fears. Of course, this isn't your responsibility, it's his journey, but leading by example has a way of sparking transformation. By embodying confidence, you create an environment where growth becomes possible for both of you. Here's the silver lining. Building confidence isn't just about improving your relationships, it's about elevating your entire life. The more you trust yourself, the less you rely on others to validate your worth. You start making decisions from a place of empowerment rather than fear. You pursue opportunities that align with your values, set boundaries that protect your peace, and surround yourself with people who uplift and celebrate you. Confidence becomes your compass, guiding you toward a future filled with purpose and fulfillment. Finally, embrace the beauty of becoming unstoppable. When you root your confidence in self-awareness and authenticity, you unlock a level of freedom few experience. You stop seeking approval from those who aren't ready to give it, and you attract relationships that reflect your light instead of dimming it. This shift doesn't just transform how others treat you, it transforms how you treat yourself. You learn to honor your worth, cherish your uniqueness, and live boldly, knowing that you are enough, exactly as you are. So take a moment to honor your journey. Honor the steps you've taken to build confidence, even when it felt uncomfortable. Honor the fact that you're choosing growth over stagnation, courage over fear, because every decision you make to invest in yourself brings you closer to the love, respect, and happiness you deserve. Keep moving forward with your head held high, knowing that your confidence is your greatest asset and nothing can dim its brilliance. Healthy relationships are like gardens. They require care, attention, and balance to thrive. When a man who loves you ignores you, it's easy to focus solely on his actions or inactions. But here's the truth. Every relationship is a two-way street. It's not just about what he brings to the table. It's about whether both of you are equally invested in nurturing the connection. Understanding this dynamic empowers you to create boundaries, honor your needs, and build a partnership rooted in mutual respect and effort. Think about the last time you felt truly fulfilled in a relationship. What made it special? Was it the laughter, the shared dreams, the sense of being seen and valued? Healthy relationships don't happen by accident. They're built on a foundation of reciprocity. Both people show up, put in effort, and prioritize each other's happiness. When one side consistently gives more than they receive, imbalance creeps in and resentment takes root. This isn't love. It's exhaustion. And while it's natural to want to fix things or save the relationship, remember this. You can't pour from an empty cup. Your energy matters, and it deserves to be met with equal commitment. Now let's talk about boundaries, the invisible lines that protect your peace and preserve your worth. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls. It's about creating clarity. It's saying, this is what I need to feel loved and respected without apology. If his silence or distance leaves you feeling unseen, it's okay to voice that. It's okay to ask for what you deserve. Boundaries aren't demands. They're declarations of self-respect. And when communicated with kindness and firmness, they invite healthier dynamics into your life. Real love doesn't push back against boundaries, it honors them. Here's the empowering part. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. When you set clear expectations, you send a powerful message. I value myself, and I expect to be treated with care. This isn't selfish. It's necessary. A man who truly loves you will appreciate your honesty and rise to meet your standards. He'll understand that relationships aren't about perfection, but about showing up consistently and authentically. And if he can't or won't respect your boundaries, that's clarity too. It's a sign that this relationship may not align with the love you're capable of giving and receiving. But let's address something important. Setting boundaries isn't about control. It's about empowerment. It's about taking responsibility for your own well-being instead of waiting for someone else to fix things. You can't change his behavior, but you can decide how much energy you invest in trying to navigate it. Redirect that energy toward yourself, toward becoming the kind of person who inspires respect and admiration. The stronger your sense of self, the easier it becomes to establish boundaries without guilt or hesitation. Let's also talk about the beauty of mutual growth. Relationships aren't static. They evolve over time, shaped by the choices both people make. When two individuals commit to growing together, magic happens. Challenges become opportunities to deepen trust, disagreements become lessons in communication, and moments of distance become chances to reconnect with intention. But growth requires effort from both sides. If you find yourself carrying the weight of the relationship alone, ask yourself, is this a partnership or am I shouldering the burden by myself? The answer will guide you toward what truly matters: balance, equity, and shared purpose. Here's the silver lining. Every experience teaches you something valuable about what you need in a relationship. Whether it's learning to recognize red flags earlier, understanding your non-negotiables, or simply knowing how to communicate your needs, these lessons prepare you for deeper, healthier connections ahead. Each boundary you set, each expectation you voice strengthens your ability to create relationships that reflect your worth. Finally, embrace the beauty of self-respect. When you prioritize your well-being and demand reciprocity, you reclaim your power. You prove to yourself that you're worthy of love that feels safe, steady, and authentic. Not perfect, because perfection doesn't exist, but real. Love isn't about sacrificing your peace for someone else's comfort. It's about finding someone who celebrates your light, respects your boundaries, and chooses you every single day. Until you find that, keep honoring yourself, trusting your journey, and believing that the right person will meet you where you are, with open arms and equal effort. So take a deep breath and remind yourself of this. You deserve a love that weighs you higher, not one that weighs you down. Keep standing firm in your values. Keep setting boundaries that protect your heart, and watch as the universe aligns you with a connection that reflects the best versions of both you and your story. Because the moment you choose yourself first, everything else falls into place. Trust is the cornerstone of every meaningful relationship, but it begins with trusting yourself. When a man who loves you ignores you, it's easy to second-guess your instincts or question your judgment. But here's the truth. Your intuition is one of the most powerful tools you have. It's that quiet voice inside you that knows when something feels off or when it feels right. Learning to trust yourself isn't just about navigating this moment. It's about building a foundation of confidence that will guide you through every chapter of your life. Think about the times you've doubted yourself, when fear whispered louder than your inner wisdom, or when uncertainty clouded your ability to see clearly. How did it feel? Draining, confusing, maybe even paralyzing? Doubt thrives in the absence of self-trust, but it loses its power the moment you choose to believe in your own strength. Trusting yourself means listening to that inner compass, even when external circumstances feel chaotic. It means knowing that no matter what happens, you have the resilience and clarity to handle it. And that belief, it changes everything. Now, let's talk about why self-trust matters so much in relationships. A man who loves you might pull away for reasons you don't yet understand, but your response to his actions reveals a lot about your confidence in your own worth. Do you wait endlessly for answers, hoping he'll validate your feelings? Or do you trust yourself enough to set boundaries, ask questions, and make decisions that align with your values? The difference lies in ownership. Owning your emotions, owning your needs, and owning your power to create change. When you trust yourself, you stop giving others the authority to define your happiness. You become the architect of your own joy. Here's the empowering part. Self-trust grows stronger with practice. Every time you honor your instincts, every time you act from a place of authenticity instead of fear, you reinforce your belief in your ability to navigate life's challenges. Start small. If something feels uneasy, acknowledge it instead of brushing it aside. If a decision feels right, take the leap, even if it scares you. These moments of alignment between your heart and your actions build a reservoir of self-assurance that no external force can drain. Over time, trusting yourself becomes second nature, and doubt begins to fade into the background. But let's address something important. Trusting yourself doesn't mean ignoring logic or dismissing red flags. It's about balancing intuition with reason. For example, if his silence feels like neglect, don't dismiss it as just in your head. Validate your feelings by asking yourself, does this behavior align with the love I deserve? Then act accordingly. Self-trust empowers you to make decisions based on both your heart and your mind, ensuring that you stay grounded while honoring your emotions. Let's also talk about the ripple effect of self-trust. When you trust yourself, you inspire others to trust you too. A man who loves you may initially struggle with his own insecurities or fears, but seeing your unwavering faith in your worth could motivate him to confront his doubts. Of course, this isn't your responsibility. It's his journey. But leading by example has a way of sparking transformation. By embodying self-trust, you create an environment where honesty, respect, and mutual effort can flourish. Here's the silver lining. Trusting yourself transforms not just your relationships, but your entire life. The more you rely on your own judgment, the less you seek validation from others. You start making choices that reflect your true desires, not what you think will please someone else. You pursue paths that ignite your passion. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. Self-trust becomes your anchor, keeping you steady even in the face of uncertainty. Finally, embrace the beauty of becoming unshakable. When you root your decisions in self-trust, you unlock a level of freedom few experience. You stop waiting for permission to live fully, love deeply, and dream boldly. You realize that your instincts are your greatest allies, guiding you toward opportunities, connections, and experiences that align with your highest good. This shift doesn't just transform how you approach relationships, it transforms how you approach life itself. You learn to move forward with courage, knowing that your trust in yourself will always light the way. So take a moment to honor your journey. Honor the steps you've taken to trust your instincts even when it felt uncomfortable. Honor the fact that you're choosing growth over hesitation, faith over fear. Because every decision you make to trust yourself brings you closer to the love, respect, and happiness you deserve. Keep moving forward with your heart and mind aligned, knowing that your self-trust is your greatest gift, and nothing can dim its brilliance. You deserve a love that feels like home, a love that wraps around you with warmth, respect, and unwavering presence. Not the kind that leaves you questioning your worth or chasing shadows of affection. If there's one truth I want you to carry with you from this moment forward, it's this. Genuine love doesn't leave you guessing. It shows up. It stays. And most importantly, it honors the beauty of who you are without hesitation or apology. Think about what real love looks like. The kind that makes you feel safe enough to be vulnerable, seen enough to shine brightly, and cherished enough to never doubt your place in someone's life. This is the standard you should hold for yourself, no matter how lonely or uncertain this season may feel. Love isn't meant to drain you. It's meant to fill you with joy, with peace, with a sense of belonging so deep that nothing can shake it. Anything less than that isn't love. It's compromise, and you deserve far more than settling. Now let's talk about why demanding authenticity in love is an act of self-respect. When you accept anything less than genuine connection, you send a message to yourself and to the world that you're willing to trade your happiness for temporary comfort. But here's the empowering part. When you raise your standards, you change the game entirely. You start attracting relationships that reflect your light instead of dimming it. A man who truly loves you won't make you fight for his attention or question his commitment. He'll choose you, not out of obligation, but because he sees the extraordinary person you are and knows he'd be foolish to let you go. Here's something important to remember. Deserving love isn't earned, It's inherent. You don't have to prove your worth by bending over backward, suppressing your needs, or tolerating neglect. Your value doesn't depend on anyone else's ability to see it. What matters is that you know it, honor it, and refuse to settle for anything that falls short of the love you're capable of giving. Real love thrives on consistency, effort, and mutual admiration. It's not perfect, but it's steady. It's not loud all the time, but it's always present where it counts. In actions, in effort, in the quiet moments that speak volumes. Let's also talk about the power of alignment. The right person for you will align with your values, your dreams, and your vision for the future. They'll celebrate your strength, support your growth, and stand beside you through challenges, not disappear when things get tough. Love isn't about fixing each other. It's about growing together. If the man who loves you struggles to show up fully, ask yourself, does this relationship align with the life I want to build? Trust your instincts. They'll guide you toward what truly matters. Here's the silver lining. Every experience prepares you for the love you're meant to find, whether it's teaching you to recognize red flags, reinforcing your boundaries, or reminding you of your worth. Every chapter has a purpose. These lessons aren't just shaping your relationships, they're shaping you. You're becoming someone who knows their value, respects their needs, and refuses to settle for anything less than extraordinary. And when you step into that energy, the universe will respond in kind. Finally, embrace the beauty of anticipation, not waiting passively, but preparing actively for the love you deserve. Visualize it, feel it, believe in its inevitability. Know that the right person is out there, ready to meet you halfway with open arms and equal effort. Until then, focus on becoming the best version of yourself, because the more you invest in your own growth, the clearer it becomes who deserves to share your journey. Don't rush the process. Trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. So take a moment to honor your worth. Honor the fact that you're choosing to rise above uncertainty, demand authenticity, and create space for the kind of love that changes lives, including yours. Keep moving forward with faith in your journey, knowing that the love you dream of isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Because at the end of every challenge, every heartache, and every lesson lies a love so profound, so real, that it will make every step worth it.